Hello YouTube, my name is Nero and today we have some Titanfall 2. What I want to do today is actually compare Titanfall 2 to the original Titanfall. Of course, the tech test is here and I've seen a lot of positive and negative criticism of the game so far. So I wanted to kind of cover that here in this video, talk about the movement system, the maps, the guns, the Titans, all that stuff, right? And just discuss the game as it is now compared to how it was in the original Titanfall. If that's something that interests you, stick around because I think it's going to be a pretty fun video. Let's start things off here with the Titans because I think the Titans are the biggest selling point for Titanfall 2 and the Titanfall franchise going forward. Looking back at the original Titanfall, there was three big selling points. Number one, Titans. Number two, movement system. Number three, respawn entertainment, because they were the old Infinity Ward that made Modern Warfare 2 as well as Call of Duty 4. Well, now that we've seen the original Titanfall, I think the respawn entertainment hype is kind of gone. Now that every game basically has the same movement system as Titanfall, I think that hype is also gone as well. Like every COD ever since had a movement system. You know, Destiny's got a weird movement system. Like all these games have movement systems now, right? So that's not really a big selling point. I think the last big selling point for Titanfall would be the Titans and how they interact with the game. At first, in the tech test, the Titans were weak, as well as you did not earn them very often. As a result, they were kind of just an afterthought, honestly. Like, I would play Amped Hardpoint because it's my favorite game mode in Titanfall, and I could earn one Titan a match, which was not fun whatsoever. One Titan per match, maybe two if I was having an exceptional game. That wasn't interesting whatsoever. It kind of felt like an afterthought because Titans would come in, they would die relatively quickly, and you'd only get one per match, so you're like, well, that was fun, I guess. They actually put in a hotfix specifically for Amped Hardpoint so you could earn more Titans. So I went from earning one Titan per match to now earning two or three, which is good, but the Titans themselves are definitely a lot different than they were in the original Titanfall. How you earn them is different, and how powerful they are is different. So let's talk about the power first. So they're not as raw powerful as they were in the original, right? In the original, you had your shield, which was very good. Then you had like a chain gun, which you could just kill their Titans and infantry very easily, right? It was very easy to take out pilots with these weapons, and as a result, Titans felt very powerful, and you could stay in them for a very long time. Here in Titanfall 2, I feel as though your Titans are weaker. Now, this could be because I'm not quite used to the new Titans, but they feel weaker, and they also feel at the same time like they have more depth to them, right? So, for example, the SCORCH Titan, you throw down this gas canister, and then you cover an objective with that, and if somebody comes towards that objective, you could then light all the gas on fire and ignite the entire area in flames. I like that mechanic a lot. That's way more interesting than, say, using a chain gun in Titanfall 1, right? That's just, I think it's a cooler system, but at the same time, I feel as though I'm not as powerful while playing as SCORCH because I can die pretty quickly as compared to, you know, what I could in the original Titanfall. Same goes for the other Titan. I feel as though the survivability is not really there right now. I can't say for sure if they've nerfed them and made them weaker or not, but I feel as though I'm weaker in a Titan now than I was in the original Titanfall. At the same time, I am still earning them slower even after the hotfix than I was previously. So here's an example of how you earn Titans. So here I go on top of this rooftop, 30% towards my Titan. I melee this guy, and now I'm 14 points closer towards my Titan. I melee another guy, I get 14 more points towards my Titan, putting me at 58%. You see that orange bar right there? That's kind of like a momentum bar. And as you can see, since I'm not doing anything, it's going to deplete, and then it drops me from 58% back down to 50%. So you get basically 10 points for a kill towards your Titans, but it could also work as 14 or 15 if you can chain together a bunch of kills. The orange bar system is kind of confusing. It's like a momentum bar, and I wish they would go ahead and explain that a little bit better, but they don't do that. The tutorial so far in the tech test, it's for people that have never picked up a controller before. It teaches you how to walk and shoot and stuff like that. It doesn't teach you how you earn your Titans. I've noticed, for example, you get 9 to 10 points for capturing a flag, but you get no points for amping a flag, 10 points for killing an opponent, but perhaps 14 or 15 if you could do it all in succession. Like, I don't know how all this works, and I wish they would just explain that a little bit better. Like in the original Titanfall, it was simple. You start at 0. Once you got to 100, you got your Titan. It would always be filling itself up by itself, you know, kind of like a support kill streak would. And if you were to get kills or damage a Titan or capture flags, it would go up and make it so you earn your Titan a little bit faster. It was very simple, whereas here in Titanfall 2, it's a little bit more confusing. So I will say Titans feel a bit more like an afterthought in Titanfall 2, although they made it better, and I have a feeling we're going to see more buffs coming to Titans in the future to make them a bigger part of the experience as a whole. Next, let's talk about the movement system. Now, I can't say for sure if I like or dislike the movement system because it feels heavier to me. I feel slower and clunkier than I remember from the original Titanfall. But here's the thing. I haven't played the original Titanfall in a very long time. So am I actually slower? Am I actually clunkier? I can't quite honestly say. I think it comes from a place where I've been playing a lot of Black Ops 3. And since Black Ops 3 has basically the same movement system as Titanfall, that Black Ops 3 just feels smoother than Titanfall 2 does, and as a result, I feel clunkier in Titanfall 2. So I can't quite say, honestly, because again, I haven't played the original Titanfall in so long, whether or not you're clunkier or you're slower than you were in that game, but it definitely feels a little bit different. And I think a big part of that would actually be the maps and how you play with these maps. So the maps that we have available to us right now are going to be Boomtown as well as Homestead. These maps are solidly okay maps, but they don't really work well with the movement system whatsoever. Like, I don't feel as though I'm constantly wall running or double jumping or getting on top of buildings and stuff like that. For the most part, I'm just running on the ground here in Titanfall 2, which is a lot different than what I expected. I pictured myself to be constantly parkouring basically throughout the entirety of the map, which is what I did back in the original Titanfall. Or was it? Was I actually doing that? Going back and watching old Titanfall gameplay, I did not play like that whatsoever. In my memory, I remember Titanfall as constantly running and double jumping and basically playing a game of the ground is made of lava. But watching some of my old gameplay, I wasn't like that whatsoever. Like, I would jump and stuff like that, sure, but for the most part, I was boots on the ground shooting people and rodeoing Titans. And I'm doing the same thing here in Titanfall 2. I think a lot of us, anyway, have this memory in our head of us constantly parkouring all of the time because that movement system was new when the original Titanfall came out. When in reality, we really didn't do that, and the same is kind of true here in Titanfall 2, but I will say the maps don't seem to work well with the movement system. Boomtown, for example, what do you do with the movement system on that map? Do you take your grapple hook and get on top of the building in the middle? Because that's what most people do, and that's really the extent of the movement system. Sure, you can do some cool things to get away from your opponents, or on the map Homestead, use that big tower in the middle and parkour your way to the top and stuff, which is cool, but for the most part, you don't really use the movement system a whole lot. It's a lot more boots on the ground than I anticipated it being, and I see a lot of people criticizing the game for not using the movement system, but in reality, it's kind of similar to how it was in the original Titanfall, so I'm not sure how I feel about the movement system. I feel as though the maps are solidly okay. I mean, they're not the greatest thing in the world. I think we look back at the original Titanfall with rose-tinted glasses, like we look back at Fracture and what was the name of the other map? Angel City? Were those the two beta maps? We look back at those as if they were like the greatest maps in the history of first-person shooters. But I think a big part of it was, you know, for the first time ever, we rodeoed a Titan on those maps, or we called in our own Titan, or we wall ran halfway across the map and stuff like that. Like, I think we just look back at those maps because they were the first experience we ever had with Titanfall, and therefore we're going to be comparing every map with how they line up with those two maps, you know. So I won't say that the maps here in Titanfall 2 are bad. I think that they're solidly okay, but I do think that the movement system could definitely they can work with it a little bit more. Like, you look at Black Ops 3, that's a game where every map is built from the ground up to work with their movement system, whereas Titanfall 2, I'm just not seeing it right now, although it could be because I don't have enough experience with the game, but right now I'm seeing a lot of people on top of rooftops and not a lot of people running around. That's what I'm noticing so far. Next, let's talk about the weaponry, because of course guns are going to be a big deal in any first-person shooter. So the guns in Titanfall 2 are good. I feel as though the assault rifle is probably the best gun in the game, which is something that kind of carried over from the original Titanfall. The R101C, I think it was called, was by far the best gun in that game. There was really no situation where it was a bad choice to have that weapon out. And the same is kind of true here in Titanfall 2. The assault rifle is so good, but at the same time, the SMGs are good, the LMGs are good. I haven't messed around with the snipers, and there's actually 9 total primary weapons available to us in the tech test, which is a good number because there was only 10 total primary weapons in Titanfall 1 as a whole. So I'm hoping there's going to be a wide variety of weapons for us to mess around with, a wide variety of weapons that are actually hidden that we're only going to be able to experience once the actual game comes out in October. There's also something called weapon mods, which are basically perks that you can add to your guns, which are nice. I mean, they add to the game and they change your gameplay, but right now there's only 3 or 4 weapon mods, and every gun can actually hold 2 weapon mods on it, so there's not a lot of choice there, right? There's not a lot of variety. I'm hoping when the full version of Titanfall 2 comes out, or next weekend when we see the second part of the tech test, that they add in more weapons and more weapon mods, just more stuff to get us to feel like we're actually making choices, have some variety, right? The biggest criticism I had of the original Titanfall was the lack of depth and the lack of choice. I mean, there was a limited number of maps, guns, and game modes. In Titanfall 2, have more maps, have more guns, have more game modes. It's really that simple. They also got rid of burn cards, which I should definitely mention because the burn cards in the original Titanfall were a big gameplay feature. Now, what they've basically done is they've taken these burn cards and they've baked them into other features. Like, for example, the weapon mods in the original Titanfall were just attachments. That's all they did. And now they actually affect your gameplay more or less. Like, you have faster reloads or being able to sprint while shooting and stuff like that. It's going to be affecting your gameplay gameplay a little bit more than it did previously, and that's a result of them actually getting rid of burn cards. A lot of the abilities, like amped weapons, for example, are no longer going to be part of burn cards, but rather are going to be different features in the game, which is a little bit different, which is going to be part of the weapons, I guess, and I think it's a good change overall. It's going to be different than the original Titanfall, but it's not really going to affect how the game is played in any way. It's just changing around features, swapping them in and out, and trying different things, which is not really a bad thing if you ask me. And when it comes to the game modes, they basically just taken game modes from the original Titanfall and upgrade them to some extent. So of course we have Pilot versus Pilot, which is pretty much unchanged, to my understanding, from the original Titanfall. And then you have Amped Hardpoint, which is a newer version of Hardpoint Domination, where they got rid of the AI, they changed around how the scoring system works. And then you have Bounty Hunt, which is a new version of Attrition. I have the same criticism for the game modes that I do for the weapons. There needs to be more. If you guys remember Call of Duty Ghosts, who remembers this? So when they added in Search and Rescue, it was a new version of Search and Destroy, and I'm talking about Call of Duty here, but they added in this new version of Search and Destroy called Search and Rescue. They knew that people weren't going to give it a chance. They were just going to default back to Search and Destroy because it's the second most popular game mode in the history of Call of Duty. So what Infinity Ward did is they cut Search and Destroy from the game in favor of Search and Rescue. And people played Search and Rescue, but they weren't happy about it because they wanted to play Search and Destroy. And then a couple of months in, they actually added Search and Destroy back to the game. I think Respawn Entertainment needs to learn from this. I think that if you're going to have a newer version of Attrition, again, Bounty Hunt, then they need to make sure Attrition and Bounty Hunt are available on day one for fans to play. If they're going to upgrade Hardpoint Domination to Amped Hardpoint, there needs to be both versions of that game mode in Titanfall 2 on day one when the game fully releases, along with a bunch of other game modes like Last Titan Standing, Capture the Flag, Pilot Hunter, all the rest of it, right? That all needs to be in the game because we need to have a lot of choice. Again, the biggest problem that I personally had with Titanfall 1 was the fact that the game lacked depth. After a while, I had seen and done everything that there is to do in the game, and I got bored and I stopped playing. A lot of people said the same thing, and so if they want to stop us from doing that again with Titanfall 2 and just repeating the cycle, there needs to be a wide variety of weapons, a wide variety of maps, a wide variety of Titans, and most importantly, a wide variety of game modes and things for us to do. Choice is always a good thing, ladies and gentlemen, and those are basically the biggest differences I've noticed so far between Titanfall 2 and the original Titanfall. You have a difference in the weapons to some extent. There's definitely a lot more of them than there was previously. There's definitely a big difference in the Titans, how you earn them and how they perform. The maps themselves feel about the same, but the movement system doesn't really work well with the maps right now. Now, of course, time will tell if that's going to change or people are going to adapt to the movement system a little bit better. I've seen a lot of really cool things online of people doing amazing things with the grapple hook, so we're definitely going to see how the movement system plays out over time and how the maps play out over time and how Titanfall 2 as a whole is going to play out over time. But rest assured, according to Matt Everett, a community manager over there for Respawn Entertainment, rest assured the community feedback is being heard and Respawn is taking action. Look for details this coming week. So I think we can all anticipate a number of changes between now and next weekend when we get to play the multiplayer tech test once again. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I definitely voiced a lot of opinions here in this video, my thoughts on various aspects of Titanfall 2, and I would love to hear in the comments some of your guys' thoughts on Titanfall 2. Let me know about that, whether or not you guys are enjoying the game, why or why not, what changes would you guys made to the game. Let me know about that down there in the comment section below. I hope you guys will enjoy this video. Drop me a rating. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day.